John Mateer already has the Oklahoma Sooners offense looking way more explosive than it did in 2024.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase over at Game Time. He's Jay Smith of Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. I'm John Williams of Sooners Wire at USA Today Sports. You can read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. And on today's show, we're going to talk about Brent Venables giving back some money to the University of Oklahoma and what it might mean for the present and the future. What went right and what went wrong in the Oklahoma Sooners 35-3 win over Illinois State. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball, Jay, because a lot went right for the Oklahoma Sooners.
A whole bunch went right. And that's mainly because we've got a passing game, John. We talked about this in our rapid instant postcast. And there's reasons to be excited about what the offense can potentially be. John Mateer's out there throwing the ball for 392 yards, and he's slinging it. The best part was you could tell that he was just kind of having fun, tossing it around, and his focus was throwing the ball. It was less about trying to get others truly involved. It was more about, tossing around, playing backyard football. Let's put it that way. That's kind of how it felt. And as the play went on, you could see him sitting in the pocket for a while. And some of his deeper passes, he was sitting there 5-6 seconds before he would sling it. So obviously the pass blocking was there, especially when you had the more seasoned players going. We gave up a sack, but that was when true freshman Ryan Fogier was out there, and he just did not come across fast enough to take the guy out like he was supposed to. But for the most part, you can see John Mateer out there. He was just having fun. You could tell that he was slinging it, and that to me was that's a big confidence booster, especially in a conference where running is really, really hard.
John Mateer averaged 2.43 seconds per throw, per drop back.
He got rid of that ball fast.
He got rid of the ball, even when they were throwing the ball downfield. And John Mateer absolutely cooked in the intermediate to deep passing game. In 2024, Jay, the Oklahoma Sooners, Jackson Arnold only had 27 completions where the ball traveled more than 10 yards down the field. 27 completions. That's it. And he was not very efficient on throws 20 yards or more down the field, completing less than 25% of those passes. John Mateer in one game had 10 completions on throws more than 10 yards down the field. And he was very efficient in that as well, completing 3 of 5 passes on 20 or more yards down the field.
Which is crazy.
That to me is a great start to this thing, because you can talk about the level of competition all you want. You've got a quarterback that's going to get the ball down the field. He's going to push the ball down the field, and he's going to get it out on time when his receivers are getting right where they need to get in the zone coverage, or if it's one-on-one coverage. He's not lingering in the pocket waiting for those guys to break open. No, he's throwing it, and he's getting the ball out. He's not allowing the pressure to get to him. He's directing and controlling the pace of the play by not sitting back in the pocket for too long.
Yeah, it makes me think about Dylan Gabriel playing against Arkansas State, in the first game. Now, granted, in that game, that was Dylan Gabriel's second season with the team, so he had some time to, build and mold a relationship with a lot of his teammates. But when they went out there in that one, they won the game 73-0. That was, because the team just blew up extremely fast and extremely early. But DG was out there dealing them. He was able to just deal with the wide receivers that he had been working with for the last couple of years. And you felt comfortable. You felt like, okay, this is the pass game that we were hoping for, that we didn't really get as much in 2022. But in this situation here with John Mateer, you could tell that he was just trying to figure out and get acclimated with the wide receiver room in live snaps in a situation where they're not going against their own defenders. He's not reading the tendencies of his own guys. He's reading the tendencies of the competition based upon tape in which they could have evolved from or whatnot. And so you could see that he was just trying to read around and understand. So to me, that's probably the biggest thing that went right in this game. On top of that, the defense definitely went right. Now, I know that there are some qualms there when it comes to the defense, and we'll talk about that and what went wrong in the second segment. But I think the one thing we can give props to this defense is the fact they only gave up 34 yards of passing in a game in which that is third in the SEC so far.
Yeah, that's a pretty salty start for the Oklahoma Sooners defense. Not everything was perfect, but they were really good. They made life really difficult for them through the air. Every time they tried to drop back, there was pressure. Oklahoma was able to force them off their spot, the quarterbacks off their spot, and force them to scramble, force them to try and get the ball out quickly. And when they did get the ball out quickly, the coverage was right where it needed to be. There were guys locked in man-to-man coverage. If it was in zone, those guys were reacting really quickly to the pass and getting to the ball carrier really quickly and not allowing a lot of yards after catch or sometimes even breaking up the pass. So yeah, the pass coverage for me was on point. The whole pass defense thing was fantastic for Oklahoma on Saturday night.
Here's what you want, is what you wanted out of this team to show you on defense. Now, granted, of course, we would have liked for them to give up no rushing yards. But when I went back and looked through the play-by-play and I rewatched the game a second time, the one thing I realized is that a lot of the possessions were a lot longer than I would have anticipated from the opposing team. But when you watch the actual broadcast, John, they kept huddling. Yeah. They were taking their time to snap. There was zero hurry, and Illinois State actually, if I'm correct, runs a hurry up offense. They run a little bit of a pace, of a tempo. They weren't doing that. They were literally just holding the ball, waiting. Then they would come out of the huddle, and then they would run their play. And I was just like, oh. And I remember hearing that on the broadcast, but it kind of went, I just didn't really let it register. Mm-hmm. But when I actually went back and rewatched it a couple of times, I was like, oh. They really are just huddling, waiting to almost the last few seconds before they was hiking the ball. And you could tell in that time of possession, 6 plays, it took them 3 minutes and 25 seconds. It took them 3 minutes and 13 seconds on 4 plays, right, before they punted. It took them 2 minutes and 41 seconds on another one, 3 minutes. They were holding on to the ball. Even in a 3-play, 2 yards, they had it for over a minute. And it's okay, you guys literally wanted to take your time and not exert too much this early in the season, because the last time, and this was actually mentioned by my boy Coop, they lost their running back last season against Iowa. They lost a running back the year before on the game opener also. So they're kind of used to dealing with injuries. They're like, we don't want to hurt ourselves here. We want to make sure that we save our guys for our actual opponents that matter.
The last thing that went right here on the Oklahoma defense, Cortland Guillory, the true freshman, stood up, stood tall, was getting picked on a little bit at one point, or at least challenged. I won't even say picked on. He was getting challenged.
She's challenged.
Picked on would have, to me, evokes the thought that he was getting beat. And so then they kept going to the well there. He wasn't getting beat at all. Were they completing passes? Yeah, but he was, again, lockstep with the wide receiver, but he was very competitive, making plays. Excited for his future. I can't wait to see him against some tougher competition when they play Michigan next weekend. But I think you've got your starting corners in Gentry Williams and Cortland Guillory for the Guillory. I did the Brent Venables thing. Guillory, Cortland Guillory, not Guillory. Sorry, Cortland. So I'm excited to see what he does down the road. What went wrong for the Oklahoma Sooners? We'll discuss that coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. College football is back, and we couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, the rivalries, the energy in the stands, there's just nothing like it. But let's be real. Actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why we use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. The app is fantastic and it's easy to use. You can even see what your view is going to look like right inside the app, so you don't have to worry about surprise obstructions or weird angles. And they've got zone deals. You can pick the section, Game Time picks the seats, and you can save even more money. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And we have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcasts even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes the survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thanks for helping us out here on the Locked On Network. Jay, what went wrong against Illinois State?
First, on the offensive side of the ball, it was the running. We produced 100 yards rushing in this game. Now, granted, this is similar. This has happened in the past. It's okay. But we still don't have an answer at who's going to be leading the way in the running back room. You had Tory Blaylock, who was actually extremely solid when he played. 8 carries for 44 yards. Javante Barnes was 7 carries for 9 yards. It just wasn't working. But as soon as you put Blaylock in there, for some reason, the holes just started opening up. But then Tory gets hurt, and then you switch in, you bring Xavier Robinson, 8 carries, 17 yards. That didn't really get the numbers that you would have wanted. So it wasn't as robust, but at the same time, though, John, this is the thing that kind of made me look at how this was set up. John Mateer had 7 carries for 24 yards. John had a lot of opportunities to actually run the ball. And this is why I talked about this in the first segment, that it felt like he was just kind of just getting it out there, just filling out the game, because he could have ran a lot more than he did, but he didn't. He stood in the pocket, he waited, and he threw the ball. So him getting more acclimated to the wide receivers felt like that's the reason why you didn't see him tuck and run. I can definitely see him tucking and running a heck of a lot more in the Michigan game.
I'm still gonna say I'm a little bit concerned about the offensive line and the running attack. If Tory Blaylock's not available and Jaden Ott isn't 100% healthy, what's your rushing game look like? Now, John Mateer proved that you can put the ball in his hands a bunch and let him go lead you, but you still want to have some balance, because that Michigan pass rush is going to start teeing off if you don't have a semblance of a threat in the ground game. So to me, there's still very much improvement mode. We came into the season thinking the Oklahoma offensive line had a big prove it season ahead of them. From a pass protective standpoint, I thought they were really good on Saturday night. From a run game perspective, I thought there was a lot still to be desired. Were there some holes? Yeah. But this was one of those games that, even though you were going with a vanilla playbook, you were going with a very basic run concept situation, you still probably should have been a little bit more consistent. And yes, Tory Blaylock made them look more consistent because of his vision, his ability to get skinny and get through some of those holes that were there. But it didn't work for Javante. It didn't work for Xavier Robinson. You've got to find a way to make it work for all of your running backs. And this is where they have to get better. No, they've got to get better, man. The unit has to be better than what it was this week.
I got to disagree with you there, because that's not on the offensive line if there's a hole there and you don't hit it. Like, I went back and watched it numerous times. There were holes for Javante Barnes to go run right up the middle and go.
I saw one screenshot. I saw a screenshot of somebody posted. Okay, there was a hole, but there was a linebacker standing right in the hole.
That's the point. You're supposed to make the linebacker miss sometimes. Like, that linebacker was literally on his heels. If you run straight into him, Javante Barnes runs him over, and he's gone.
Maybe.
That's no. That's he better. If you're a good back. We saw Tory Blaylock do it. We saw Tory Blaylock truck a dude and then almost keep going.
And then fell down.
He trucked a couple of guys, and of course they pulled him down.
Yes,
that's better than running sideways and losing yards.
I totally agree with you. But as far as
but that's better than losing yards, though. That's my point. Right. Is that you had, if he kept going to the outside, that's what killed me. It was like, dog, go straight. It's right there.
No,
hit that dude.
Listen, I'm with you. He tried to go east-west way too much.
He does.
You need to get downhill. Help your offensive line out. If it's to go downhill, get downhill. Xavier Robinson, same thing. Get downhill, dude. You are a downhill runner. Don't be trying to go east-west. And yes, they need to be better. And I think the offensive line still needs to be better.
No, and I agree with you on that. They need to be better in general.
But I'm just not buying the whole Jay Knott story right now. I feel like there's something more going on with that than they're letting on.
Well, I mean, Brent Venables kind of said what it was. The two guys that were healthy all of fall camp, they rewarded them with the start in this game. Ott had a shoulder injury. Now you got another guy with a shoulder injury. So now we're kind of in two spots.
Sure, but why didn't we see Jay not get carries before Xavier Robinson? When Tory Blaylock went down, why didn't we see Jay not then?
To me, it's why play a guy when you don't have to?
So then
if he's dealt with injuries before.
So then why have him return kicks?
Because you expect him to get no more than one kick returned, in which he didn't return any of them.
Okay, then why put him out there at all?
Because it's a kickoff.
About him getting hurried. No. Even like in the run game, when you finally give him a carry, you throw him a pass. Why get him out there at all if you're not? I don't know.
At that point, you've got bodies falling. So at some point, you have no choice. That's my logic behind it.
You could have gone back to Javante Barnes.
I mean, did you really go back to Javante Barnes?
But if Jay Knott's not healthy enough to get the start.
But did you want to go back to Javante Barnes, though? I think that's the point, is that you got to a point where it's like, okay, now we have no choice but to put you out there because we're kind of like falling apart.
Right. So I think you probably could have figured something else out if you were concerned that you didn't want to get Jay Knott hurt in this game. I don't know. The story just feels a little bit more fishy, and I feel like they're maybe trying to save face a little bit. I don't know what the story is, but the whole running back room continues to be a mystery to everybody. I really hope Tory Blaylock is healthy. That would make me feel a lot more confident about what this team is at running back going forward. I need to see Jay not perform. After last year being banged up, dinged up, not producing, and then now coming out of fall camp again, dinged up and being third on the depth chart, I need to see him go perform, man. I need to see him produce. And am I overreacting? Probably I am, but I need to see this guy go perform before we're ready to say, yes, he's an all SEC type player. Because right now, I mean, the one carry he got -3 yards, the one target he got, there was no chemistry or connection between him and John Mateer. So
no, I get that. Like, and then the reports coming out of fall camp, the reports coming out of fall camp was that he was out there killing it until he hurt his shoulder. Okay. And then it was like, all right, we're going to pull you out. So we had to sit you for 2 weeks because you have an AC joint sprain, right? Mm-hmm. And with the type of running back that he is, he likes to hit people. It's not a good thing to have whenever you're going into the SEC. So you kind of give him some time to rest.
Right.
Then he did get back to practice, but again, it's an FCS opponent. You kind of don't need that. Plus, like, you saw a lot of the young players playing out there. You saw, I mean, first off, Jacob Sexton gets hurt 6 plays into the game. Mm-hmm. Then you bring out Baklinko, who wasn't really playing left tackle. Michael Fasusi was. And then you bring in Ryan Fogier, who, as the game progressed, he got better. Yeah. But he wasn't looking very polished yet. But that's a true freshman. That's kind of what you expect. You got to get him in the groove. You know what I'm saying? So sure. To me, the odd thing, I mean, I get everybody's suspicion behind it. I don't see that personally. It feels like it's just maintenance of, why would I put a dude out there who we paid a lot of money to get here, by the way, in a game that and really play him, because multiple hits is where the injuries come in.
Right.
Taking 1 or 2 here or there, not as much, but we saw with Tory that after about 4 truckings, he got hurt.
Yeah. Tory, you don't got to truck everybody, by the way. Like, it's cool. It's great. It got
Shake
everybody
them.
fired up, but yeah, use some of that lateral agility, my guy. No, and my final thing here on Ott is I would have been fine, honestly, if they just said, we're not going to play him at all. And they went back to Javante Barnes, because you're right, man. We don't need to see Jaden Ott against Illinois State. You're absolutely right. This game was never in doubt. There was never in question. If you weren't going to be able to give Tory Blaylock more carries because he was dinged up and you wanted to hold him out, keep him for the rest of the season, you had to spell Xavier Robinson because you were kind of riding him, then go back to Javante Barnes. Give Gabe Sawchuk some opportunities.
Yeah. That's where I'm curious. Why don't we just see Gabe go? Yeah. Give Gabe some run. But I knew Taylor Tatum was still hurt.
Mechanic back there and let him run the ball.
Actually,
that dude, get the ball in my guy's hands any way you want to, please.
Actually, yeah, that's actually a really good idea.
Like, I mean, little Christian McCaffrey. I mean,
little run CMC going there. Hey, if he for real runs a 10-3 in 100, that would have been worth the price of admission.
We saw what he did as a pass catcher. I mean, just imagine him as a running back. I don't know.
He deserves a little bit more praise. We're going to talk about him more tomorrow's show.
Definitely. We definitely have to. Coming up next, we're going to praise Brent Venables a little bit here on Locked On Sooners.
Guys, you probably heard of Viagra or Cialis, or maybe you even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Ready. Rougiette Ready is a next-generation prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rougiette 3-in-1 formula dissolves under the tongue and kicks in fast, on average, in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and controlled even when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Rougiette might be that answer, because over 150,000 men have already made the switch. You can even read real customer reviews on their website. It helps a lot of people feel more confident and present in those moments. So head over to Rougiette.com/LockedOnCollege and use code LockedOnCollege to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege and use promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougiette website for full safety information.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Tune in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And again, thank you for everybody that's hitting the subscribe button. Those sub numbers are just flying right now. If you haven't hit the subscribe button over on YouTube, please go do that. Also, if you like what we do here on Locked On Sooners, make sure you go leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Jay, Brent Venables, sometime, I want to say it was in the wintertime, had approached Joe Castiglione, had a conversation with him about giving back $1 million in his 2025 salary as a way to participate in the revenue sharing efforts for the Oklahoma Sooners. This story came out late last week from USA Today Sports as they kind of dug into contracts and salaries. And they do this every year as part of their data, creating their database. And then they do information requests with each university that is then beholden to respond to those. Well, Brent Venables gave back $1 million.
Yeah, an open records request that USA Today did back on Friday the 29th just to verify, because this had kind of leaked out. Like you said, right at the end of the week, we had heard about supposedly Brent Venables reduced his pay for the 25 season, which, keep in mind, it's only for this season. Maybe he'll do it again. We don't know. We'll see what happens this season or whatnot. We'll see who opens their checkbooks. But he gave it back and he put it towards the revenue sharing. And he had mentioned in the presser that it wasn't supposed to get out. It was just kind of a thing that they approached, like you said, Joe seeing him about it. Him and Julie did, just because they had been just so blessed, right? And he says that, they've been blessed and they have been favored a lot more than he feels like they deserve, which, I disagree 100%, but he was willing to give back, and his goal was to put it towards revenue share. So he made sure he did it before July 1st. So this happened in February. And so it's been kept quiet all of this time. And he's one of many coaches that have done that You saw Brian Kelly did it. I think he's matching whatever up to $1 million in donations to what they were doing at LSU. Mike Gundy did it. Same thing with Mike Norvell. He actually gave a whole bunch more of his salary.
Yeah.
Like it's like $4 million or something like that after the season they had. But and they started the season off strong, knocking off Alabama the way they did. But I digress. Yeah. Brent Venables wanted to make sure that he wanted to see the team win. He wants to see the team be successful, and this was one way to be able to help lock in the current talent they have on the roster.
It speaks volumes to the kind of person that Brent Venables is, and I think it just shows leadership, because as universities go out there and they're constantly asking donors for money and fans for money for all kinds of stuff, whether it's for buying tickets or buying spots in certain tailgating, experiences, donating to NIL causes, things like that. Sometimes the fans kind of get tired of being asked, but to see your coach go and kind of lead the way, I think that speaks volumes to him. And he talked about how it was important for Oklahoma to be in the retention business of the talent that they have on the roster first and foremost, and then set them up to go and be effective on the recruiting trail as well. And so it's a forward thinking idea. And I think he understands that $1 million today, if we're successful and I get to continue to coach this team long-term, that's really kind of small potatoes. And this is all relatively speaking. $1 million for me is big potatoes. $1 million on a $8 million contract, that's a little bit different. But if he's coaching this team, not just through this contract, but gets another extension because Oklahoma's been successful, that's a smart investment from Brent Venables and Julie Venables into the program.
Yeah, you can tell that they're lifers for Oklahoma.
They want to be.
They're here for Oklahoma. And I have appreciation for someone that wants to see the program be successful. And so, that's something you can't be mad at.
No, program guy, man.
He's a program guy. Really is. He really, really is a program guy. And I think that's the way to really look at that. And so, I'm just happy to see that he's willing to donate back and put it back into the program. Can't beat that.
I mean, we know that R. Mason Thomas got a big offer to be pulled away from Oklahoma last winter. And I'm sure he wasn't the only one. I bet there was others like a Robert Spears Jennings. I'm sure people approached him. Kip Lewis, I'm sure people approached him as well. There was a lot of those guys on the defensive side of the ball. We know David Stone flirted with the transfer portal in the spring as well. So and this $1 million, man, that could go a long way to retaining the talent that's on your roster in a given season or bringing in talent from the transfer portal. So again, it's not fully, philanthropic by Venables. It's going to benefit him too, because
of course
more talent on the team gives him a better opportunity to win. But again, he could just be out there asking and not participating in the revenue sharing fundraising in his own right. So again, I think it's just it's a solid move. And again, hopefully it pays off for him. And I know that there are a lot of people out there that don't really care for Brent Venables. And listen, not everybody is going to be everybody's cup of tea. That's the way the world works. Not everybody's going to like everybody. I personally think Brent Venables is a good dude, and I want him to be really successful.
Honestly,
I don't want to have to endure a coaching change where Brent Venables gets fired. I don't want to have to endure people lobbying for an Urban Meyer to come to Oklahoma, because I don't want that guy coaching my team. I don't want Ed Orgeron coaching my team. I don't want to have to deal with it. Do they win national championships? Yeah. But what's the cost, man? Like, what's the moral cost to some of that? And am I being naive? Probably. But that's just what happens when you get old and you got kids. You want your team and the coach that you pull for to be a good dude, somebody that your kids can look up to and be excited about.
I'm glad you got the moral compass for us all there, John, because that's kind of the thing. It's for a lot of fans, they don't care about having a moral compass.
Listen, I understand. You just want dubs. That's all that matters to you. And listen, dubs matter to me. I want the wins. I'm not just here to play for fun. Like, I'll let my kids on the soccer field play for fun. Oklahoma's got to go win football games. Brent Venables has to go win football games. But I really want him to go win football games.
I'm with you there.
I want all of it. I want all of it. I want a good dude who wins a lot of football games.
Yeah, that's what I want too. I would like to have a great guy that also wins championships. It's hard to find those. It's hard to find another Nick Saban like that. You don't get many people that people just adore that could win. And so, yeah, I like the fact that he is invested in the team, and you can tell that the team is invested in him. That's something hard to find, and it's hard to get. And you just hope that your team ends up that way when you hire a guy. And so far it seems like the players are responding well. You see massive improvements. Now the question is, can we go out there and just get dubs? That'll make everybody happy. But shout out to Brent Venables for that, because I do think that was a very noble thing of him.
Yep, absolutely. And Oklahoma's going to have a big game this week against the Michigan Wolverines. We'll dive into some of that. We'll have Isaiah Hole. We'll connect with him of Locked On Wolverines and do a crossover later in this week. We'll also touch base with some of the other big-time hosts on the Locked On Network to break down everything that's happened in Week 1 and everything that's coming in Week 2. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube. You can follow me at John9Williams and read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. The show is at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer
Sooner.